Yo, what's going on, guys? Coach Chris with OTA. For today's video, what I want to be able to walk you guys through is through our speed-specific dynamic warm-up. So we always start off with the first 10-minute dynamic warm-up where we just basically elevate the tissue temperature, run our athletes through a specific range of motion with their lower and upper body. And then after that, depending on what the day's focus is or the training session's focus is, we go through a series of kind of neural prep movements that are going to prepare the athlete for better quality work. So first and foremost, we want to work from the ground up. So starting with our lower limb, there's a series of progression that we want to focus on before we get into obviously moving up that chain into our quads, our hamstrings, and our glutes and really warming them up. So first things first, we're going to start from a bilateral. I always start off with a linear pogo jump, right? So this is where the athlete is working through both feet going ahead and going down about 10 yards. So the first variation I do, I actually want the athlete to work through the entire ankle. So I'm not having them stay in dorsiflexion. I want them to go from dorsi to plantar and be able to work through that entire ankle. So they're really gonna be focused on pointing the toe all the way down. A big emphasis that I have here is I tell them I want you to really focus on eliminating the knee and only working through the ankle. So they're pointing the toe on the way down, bounce off the ball of the foot, and I'm working through the entire ankle all the way down 10 yards. Now, every time that we do our pogos and we're on our way back, I instruct my athletes to go ahead and perform a heel walk. This is pulling the toe to the top of the shoe, pulling that toe towards the shin, really working to balance out that lower limb. This is just another way that we, again, balance out, right, the anterior tibialis with the calf muscles. The next variation that I want to do is the same pogo jump, but now I'm going to have the athletes perform it in dorsiflexion. So I'm going to pull the toe to the top of the shoe the entire time, keep my heels down, right? And I don't want any play in the ankles. I want you to be able to spring off the ball of the foot the entire time. We're going to perform that for 10 yards, and then we're going to heel walk back. Now is where I can get a little bit more aggressive. I can progress it. So the first one we're going to do, we're going to isolate that foot and ankle, and we're going to go alternating. So I'm going to say, hey, punch just off the ball of the foot, eliminate the knee, eliminate the hips, and focus on just working through the ball of the foot, punching down, alternating between each. It's a little bit more aggressive than the bilateral because obviously each foot needs to take it, but it's not as aggressive as a single leg, right? You're going off and alternating through. Same thing back, we're gonna make sure we heel walk. The next progression to that, now I'm gonna tell them to get the hips involved a little bit, and it's gonna be a little bit more of aggressive alternating pogos. So what you're gonna see is the athlete will actually punch up and they're gonna scissor a little bit more with the hips. So it's gonna look like this. And now I'm adding just a little bit more stress across the foot and ankle because obviously I'm creating more stress as the athlete has to jump up higher. Same thing as we did before, heel walk back. And then from there, where we want to progress it is going to be our single leg pogos. So they're going to go single leg pogos down, right? We're going to go down on one leg and then back on the other. Now from here, we've done basically our entire base support, right? This is our lower limb from our knee down, working strictly through that foot and ankle complex. Now, we stress no matter what we're doing, every single time they're getting in here, we're working that foot and ankle because that's what makes contact with the ground. It takes a lot of volume to be able to develop that elastic strength in that foot and ankle. So we want to make sure that we get our touch points and accumulate volume every single time that they're in here. Now that we've done that, now I can start moving up across the knee and across the hip, right, to really get that neural prep. So the first one from there, from single leg pogos, is gonna be a nice and easy single leg hop. Now this is a very nice and easy drill that I can regress just based off the intensity of movement or progress by just telling them to add a little bit more juice, making it a little bit bigger jump. So single leg hops, it's more of a decel focus. It's more of a continuous focus where you can catch rhythm and be able to work through that foot, right, the ankle, knee, and hip. So it's just gonna be here, nice and easy, almost like a shock absorber, and they're working through each leg. They're gonna go right down and left back. Now, once we've completed that, we're gonna go to our next most basic plyo, power skip series. Now with our power skip series, we're gonna focus on two different movements. First one is gonna be power skips for height. This is where the athlete is gonna perform a skip, and they're gonna focus on driving their head through the ceiling, jumping up as high as they possibly can. So they're still performing the same skip, but they're focused on driving vertically. Now we all know, I've talked about this before, but vertical force directly translates over to maximum velocity. As we've seen on force plates, the athlete's basically producing more vertical force when they're in that top speed motion. So we want to really focus on performing that vertical. So it looks a little bit like this. So as you can see, this is one of those drills. I love the skipping. You're alternating on both sides. Pretty easy to teach. We have all of our athletes from the youth all the way up to the professional performing this every single time that they walk in for a linear speed. The second one is going to be for distance. This is going to display a little bit more horizontal force, and it's focused on the athlete pulling with the glute. When they focus on this, I tell the athlete to kind of skim the ground and focus on hang time. Looks a little bit like this. All right, so following those power skips now is usually where we can start to break off and start to intensify depending on where the athlete is currently at in the off season. There's a progression to everything that we do, especially when it comes to linear speed, as far as introducing the least complex and then developing that athlete up to the most complex to be able to instill either those mechanics, elevate the nervous system, whatever it is that we're trying to particularly do with that particular athlete. Now from here, we can go to a warm-up where we focus maybe more on A skips or B skips. Essentially, it's a progression to that. We're working something a little bit more mechanical to be able to teach the hamstring to release at the top so that the athlete isn't contracting when they go into touchdown. From there, another staple that we perform all the time is gonna be our straight leg bounds, where I'm really focused on that athlete being able to separate the hips and focus on pulling back at the turf. Other ones that we can start to incorporate that get a little bit more aggressive is gonna be our alternate bound series. Now with our alternate bound, I love to be able to teach horizontal force, right? That directly translates to acceleration, where the athlete is punching the knee forward and attacking back down at the ground. Really focus on the hips staying parallel with the ground and pushing out. And then you have your vertical alternating bound series, where the athlete is focused on getting up with every touch. So you're gonna see that waistband go up and down. It's all about shin angle when it comes to being able to translate over to ACell or top speed. And then from there, we can get into some of our mechanical work, our real basic neural work. And then always, we wanna integrate that into what that athlete is doing, whether that's through some basic 10-yard sprints for ACell or some build-ups to be able to work through that top speed or max velocity. So there you have it, guys. Wanted to basically be able to walk you through the exact warm-up for that particular training session for linear speed after we've done our dynamic. Try this out. Make sure that you have a progression to everything you do. Make sure you have your staples, your building blocks that you're accumulating volume with, and you're always doing to be able to develop yourself as an athlete. And if you're looking for a full speed program drawn out for you, go ahead and check out the link down below. Already laid it out with all these things that we discussed, and I'll hold you guys next time.